goals for the year.
All right, so you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Sirena here, and I have a special guest that I want to introduce you today. And I'm here with my friend Stacey Schaedler. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. And Stacey is a fellow fitness professional here in Boston. And Stacey and I know each other through Facebook, and we actually met each other in person a few weeks ago, and just really hit it off and figured we'd do some stuff online together, and thought it'd be cool to kick it off with a nice little interview, and we'll talk about our fitness journeys and our fitness philosophies and how they've developed, and talk about Stacy's experience with figure competing, and talk a little bit about body image and nutrition and fitness and all that sort of stuff. So figured we'll just get started, and welcome Stacey. Thank you for being here.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent. So can you tell me a little bit about, or us about what you do now in Boston, like what your business looks like, what you do, how you help people, that sort of stuff?
Uh-huh. I'm running my business right now out of South Boston Yoga, which is the largest yoga studio in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only studio that I know of in the Massachusetts area that's going to have weights of any kind.
Oh, wow.
We do suspension training,
Yep.
kettlebells, corrective exercise.
Yep.
But within a yoga studio in the city,
Yeah.
it's really the only one that has any
Yeah.
sort of strength training within it.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, I've subbed at South Boston, which is actually where we met, and I have to say, like, honestly, of all the yoga studios I've been in Boston, it's legit has probably the best atmosphere, just a nice environment, like the studios, they just feel good when you're
Yeah.
inside of it. And as a trainer, you kind of take that into consideration with where you want to teach, was like, how does the space feel? How are your clients going to feel when they walk in? And I just hope I get another opportunity to sub there, because it was a really great experience. So
Definitely. That's a big thing. Like, when I first started off, I worked downtown at FitCorp at like a bigger box gym downtown.
yeah,
And then I opened up a studio in Newton, which was a little bit different
yeah,
too. And then coming back into the city with a younger crowd,
yep,
different demographic.
Yeah.
It's been really good.
cool. So how did you get started with fitness? Like, what was your fitness journey? How did you get started training? Like, let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. I think I always used exercise as my stress release.
Yeah.
I would kind of run away from things a little bit.
Yeah.
And when I was 18, the orthopedist told me I was going to need a double knee replacement.
Wow.
So I didn't play lacrosse in college the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
But instead I walked onto the crew team at UMass.
Nice.
That wasn't any better for my knees. I graduated with a degree in exercise science.
Yep.
Started working at Emerson College, and I saw a yoga class going on, and I was like, what the fuck is that? Whatever. Dared myself to go to yoga for an entire month while the kids were away.
Yep.
The summer.
Yep.
The first class I ever went to, I cried in Shavasana, and I knew that there was something going on.
Yeah.
So I did it every day for a month, and I could touch my toes, and my knees didn't bother me anymore.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a big, huge lie, but
Yeah.
that's the truth.
Yeah.
And then I just started exploring strength a little bit more.
Mhm.
Read a bunch of books and realized that I needed more stability in my hips and
Yeah.
strength in my glutes, and along with that flexibility
Right.
to build the body that was going to allow me to do what I wanted to do.
Right. That's funny, because I rode when I was in college too, and I got my degree in exercise science. So when you were in school, like, a lot of people ask me, like, oh, like, you got your degree to be you got your degree to be a trainer. Like, no, I just got the exercise science degree because I liked fitness and I liked the body, and I was just
Right.
like, all right, this sounds cool, but I didn't actually have the intentions of being a trainer. Did you kind of have the same thing happen, or?
I don't know what I really thought was going to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't think that school really prepared me to be a trainer.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It's all about what you read and
Right.
you self-study, like you working out and learning. The more injuries you have, I think, as a trainer, the better trainer you are, because you're able to, understand what's going on with clients.
Right. So what was your first job as a trainer? Like, after you went through yoga and you experienced kind of a different level of fitness and a different way to move your body. Like, how did you actually start training? Like, did you start teaching yoga? Like, how did that come about for you?
No, I worked at Emerson College, and then I was like, I really want to just train as much as possible. I worked like 7 days a week and just like tried to get as many clients at every fit corp that I possibly could.
Yeah.
And just trained as many people. I thank those people.
Yeah.
I really didn't know that much about what I was doing, but you know, you learn. You have to get the hands-on experience. You can't just you know, train people online and say that you're a trainer when you have it's putting in the hours.
Right. Cool. And you mentioned, and I know like you have a lot of, a wide range of I guess, skills with training, like yoga, and I know that you do kettlebells. Can you tell us a little bit about like your path into how your philosophy is now, and then maybe talk about what it is and how it's shaped over time?
So my philosophy now is, I think that strength is of the utmost importance, but flexibility and strength go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Especially for women.
Right.
The majority of my clientele is female.
Yep.
I think women have the tendency to lean towards the yoga. People have the habit of doing what they're already good at.
Right.
That's not good for your lower back. It's not good for your bones, you know? It's not making you stronger, really.
Right.
It's doing what you're already good at. So just bridging that gap between strength and flexibility, you know, and teaching women to be strong. I think that's been, I don't know, kind of where I'm at now.
Right. What's your favorite kind of exercise to teach? Because I know that you do yoga and like kettlebell stuff. Like, if you had a preference, like what would you if you only had one choice, like what would you teach? Kettlebells. And what is it like? I mean, I've used kettlebells. I'm not certified with kettlebells, but what is it about kettlebells that you love so much?
That feeling. I mean, kettlebells and yoga, like, they just are like a perfect match together. Like the Turkish get-up with the shoulder stability.
Right.
It's going to be, you know, similar to like a sun salutation. It just goes.
Right.
Well, I could never say that I would do one without the other.
Right.
Ever.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I love yoga. I do yoga. I haven't been doing it as regularly as I should, but kettlebells is also something that I'd love to get involved with, and I guess that's something too for me over time. Like, I started off, and like you mentioned, rowing in college, and I'm sure you pulled a lot of your experience from like your training days in school into like when you.
This is the thing. When kettlebells first came out, I mean, in the United States, a little bit more popular.
Yeah.
Like 6 to 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember starting with like a 12 kg from a Perform Better seminar, and I had never gotten like that high that you get from competing, like, you know, from rowing in the boat and racing, and like I was like, oh my god, I love this, and like I can actually do it and it doesn't hurt me.
Right.
You know, all former athletes are gonna love this kettlebell thing. You know.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how, like, when I first started with training, I just used a lot of what I've learned from school in terms of rowing and stuff, but then I realized most people, because of the nature of the workouts, they're so intense. Most people just can't keep up with that. So, and that's kind of how I started getting into Pilates and infused what I learned from Pilates with the body and posture and alignment into the work that I was already doing. So it's kind of morphed over time, and I think that as trainers, our philosophies are always changing with us. You know, as we learn as professionals, and as we learn about ourselves, and as we learn about the body and our clients, that is always changing. So philosophies are always evolving and always dynamic and everything. So, which is...
I think that's the most important thing, is to just never dismiss something before you have been informed about it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, yoga's horrible.
Right.
X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Have you ever done it?
No.
You know?
Yeah. And that's what I find it can be tricky with the fitness industry, because we can be so dogmatic about things where it's like, nope, this is the only way to do it and nothing else works. And, you know, I think as talking to fitness professionals like you who have really meshed ideas and concepts together, that the industry is slowly starting to evolve, where it's like, you know what, it's not a one-track mind. We're really evolving to encompass a much greater modalities into our training philosophies and everything, which is really cool to see, you know?
And I think the biggest thing that when we met up that first time and we talked,
Yeah.
you know, we said, guess what? It's so much more than just nutrition and exercise. I totally, you know, that's the number one thing that's changed for me.
Right. Yeah, and that's something too, like, you know, as I've talked to other fitness professionals, you know, you start to see the limitations that even exercise and diet can get. And you start to realize that there's another kind of underlying piece, and you can think of it as like a mind-body connection, whatever you want to call it, or your thoughts or your emotions, but there's still a lot going on underneath. And I think it's cool that there are other trainers who are starting to get on board with this idea. And I think this would be kind of a good segue to talk about your experience as a fitness competitor and kind of what that meant for you and how that shaped your philosophies, and kind of talk about, you know, when diet and exercise aren't working, you know?
Right. So I feel like being a female in the fitness industry, you have to be smart and you have to look good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing. I feel like guys can make it and they can look okay, you know? So, you know, I was younger, like 25, 26,
yep.
and running a studio, and I had suddenly been diagnosed with all these food allergies. So my diet was restricted.
Yep.
I was lifting heavy at the time, and someone was like to me, hey, why don't you do a figure competition? And I was like, okay, like I think that would be a good goal.
Yeah.
So it just started off that way.
Yep.
I got a great coach online.
Yep.
And, you know, everyone was gunning for me and encouraging me, and it came at a good time in my life. I had just gotten out of like a 5-year relationship, and my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and it just got me through a really hard time.
Yeah.
So I won a bunch of shows, and it all of a sudden it just like I started losing the sense of who I was and why I was doing this.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't feel like myself. I felt tired all the time. I wasn't a good trainer.
Yeah.
You know, and I ended up getting really, really depressed and gaining a bunch of weight after competing, messing up my thyroid in just 2 years.
Yeah.
And so it's been a whole journey after that. And I swear that, you know, things get put in your life for a reason. So, like, now I can help even more people because of the experiences that I've had. Right,
exactly. So when you started figure competing, you said you were like 25, 26. You did that for a couple of years. And then after that, and this is kind of what I wanted to talk to you about, because I think it's interesting how, you know, the idea of competing and using your body as kind of like a showcase, you know, people looking in might think this person's really healthy, this person, they're ripped, they got 6-packs, like, look at her delts, like, they might see that and epitomize that as health, as, you know what I mean, like true health. And I kind of wanted to hear a little bit more kind of like the real story, kind of like the dirty secrets behind all of it, because I think that's kind of a misconception, and it misleads people into thinking you have to look like that in order to be healthy. When
right, I think it's becoming more and more prevalent now.
Yeah.
So I can remember since I was like 15, 13, cutting out workouts in Oxygen magazine and being like, oh, like I just like aspire to look like that.
Yeah.
I'm very attracted to that look. And I even found like a card that I wrote to my friend Morgan, and I had drawn like a muscly woman, and it just was something that I've always really liked. You know? You know, I have a big back, like why not? Whatever.
Right.
After competing, like when I look at Oxygen now, I hate it. Like I just feel like what some of these girls must be feeling, you know? It's like you look that way for maybe like 3 days, and then like you start eating regular food again, you feel horrible.
Yeah.
You think that like that when you're on stage and dehydrated, like that, people think you walk around like that. You don't. You work, you know, 3 months to get to that, giving up everything, and then it's gone.
Right.
And then you feel like shit about your body, basically.
Right. Yeah. So it kind of, and it's tough because I think as female fitness professionals, it's almost like that's the standard, and there's such a range of body types even as trainers. And I think that I find when I talk to other female fitness professionals that there's a struggle with that, because it's like you have to feel like you have to look a certain way, like you talked about. And I think it also sets up some unrealistic ideas in our client's mind of what they should look like. So after you competed, and you only did it for a couple of years, you said, can you tell us a little bit about the changes your body went through? So during those 2 years, I mean, you were like strict dieting.
Well, I won my pro card, and I was going to compete as a professional, and I needed to get bigger legs to match my back, this and that. What do you think, the second that you're not competing anymore, that muscle that you put on is going to go away?
Yeah.
No. You're going to get to a normal body fat, and you're going to pack it on top of the quads that you just built, and your clothes don't fit.
Yeah.
It's
that's
like, you freak out.
Right. So there's not only a lot of things going on in your body physically, but it's also getting into...
It's so mental.
Yeah, getting into a lot of stuff, mentally and emotionally. So after you did your competing, you did it for 2 years, and you stuck to these, really strict plans and workouts. What was the turning point? Like, what made you decide to stop doing it? Like, when were you like, I'm done, I can't do this anymore?
I probably wanted to throw in the towel before I finished off my last 2 shows, but my coaches were like, my knees were really bothering me, and I just felt like I was not sleeping.
Yeah.
My hair was falling out.
Yeah.
I have no sex drive.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt so empty.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whatever, I'll get through these next, couple weeks and be done with it. But I ended up going to therapy because I was so depressed.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy the effect that, dieting heavy and training hard can have on some women's hormones.
Right. And what would you say, like, and it's funny because I know people personally who have done or are doing following this kind of lifestyle. Like, what would you say to someone who might be struggling with this and is wondering whether or not...
emails from girls, and I'm totally honest with them.
Yeah.
I had no history of any sort of eating disorder ever.
Mm-hmm.
I never felt bad about my body. So the biggest lesson I learned was, like, you already have everything that you're looking for. Like, you do. It's in there,
Right. Right. Exactly. So after you competed and stuff, and you were experiencing all these, like, physical changes and everything, so I should say, like, how long ago did you stop? Like, from when you stopped to now, like, how long has that been?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. So what was your journey like from stopping to, like, where you are now? Like, what were the changes? Yeah, because I know, like, I've read, like, Jen Comas-Keck's blog about, like, her hypothyroidism and adrenal fatigue and all that sort of stuff, and how that affected her body and what she had to do to kind of rehabilitate yourself. Like, did you have to follow something similar? Like, how did you heal yourself?
I worked with a metabolic nutritionist, and I had to just eat I had to eat a ton of fat. I had to support my adrenals. So eating, like, fatty meat and, reintroducing foods into my body, because, you take all these things out, and then your body's just like, fuck you, what are you doing? Like, you go back to trying to eat regular food, and, like, I don't even eat bad.
Right.
The first week after I was done competing, I started getting, like, cellulite on my arms. Like, just eating regular food. And I was like, holy shit, what's going on? Calling my mom, being like, I don't know what's going on, with my body.
Right. And and the process for that takes time to heal, that takes time for
I left my job at that point, and I was like, you know what, maybe I don't want to be a trainer anymore, because clients would be, like, male clients would be like, Stacey, like, you're getting kind of big. Like, and little did they know that, like, there's just, like, this huge struggle that I'm going with, just out of my control.
Yeah. So you've gone from, like, working out really, really tough, dieting really restrictively, kind of stepping out of that role, and then kind of getting back into, a regular life or whatever. What do your workout routines look like now? Like, what do you actually do on like a weekly basis? What does like your nutrition look like now? I'm sure people are like curious to see like, how do you go from like that to like just being a normal person, I guess?
So I was talking actually to one of my clients about weight. Not that weight really matters, but just like giving you a little bit of a better idea of where things went.
Yeah.
So before I started competing, I was probably like 135 pounds. When I won my pro card, I walked on stage at 117.
Wow.
When I stopped, I weighed 155.
So wait a second. So before you started competing, you were 135.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you walked on stage to compete, you were 117.
Yep.
And then when you stopped competing, like after that 2-year period.
Like at the highest point afterwards, I weighed 155.
Okay, so there was a 40 pound swing there almost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So now I just went to the doctors this week. I'm back at 135, and it's taken me 2.5 years.
Wow! Congratulations. That's awesome. That's awesome. And it does take that. It does take that long to heal.
Right. Well, just think about it. I mean, us as trainers, we don't have the experience of like being overweight and that the hormones that go into yo-yo dieting and like how many women are we working with that do have that? It puts it into perspective that it's so much more than just like diet and nutrition.
Right.
When your hormones are messed up.
Right. There's a lot going on. So what is your workout schedule like now? Like, what do you do throughout the week?
My motto now is less is more, and get the activation going as much as you can, be in proper alignment, and then I'll strength train 3 days a week, and I practice yoga twice.
Yep. I
appreciate a nice long walk, and I keep my diet clean.
Right. And so, what does like a typical day in the life of Stacey in terms of food look like?
Okay. Well, I wake up at 4:45 most days. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll just have like a coffee. Sometimes I'll make like a smoothie, but something where I can eat when I'm training clients.
Right.
I probably eat 4 or 5 meals a day. Mm-hmm. All real food.
Yep.
I cook all my food.
Yep.
Not like measuring or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's taken a while to get to this point.
Yeah.
But you have to be okay once you've been in this like structured, regimented, I have to eat now, It takes a while for your body to get out of that point. And I just like don't want to be that crazy anymore.
Right, exactly. So I mean, that's great to hear that for you to be able to bounce back from that and to have the insight to look back and say, you know what, this isn't working for me. Like, I'm not feeling great. And I think a lot of times what happens is women, we kind of get stuck in that cycle of like punishing. Like, we have to keep punishing ourselves, whether it's through exercise or like restrictive eating.
Yeah, I mean, like, I competed in an all-natural federation. There's only one of those. So a lot of these girls are on things, and they're taking fat burners. Like, we got tested and everything. Right. I mean, I can't even. How do you do that?
Right. How do you keep up with that? And it's interesting too, because I find a lot of times is that when we kind of get into the mindset of like that restrictiveness, it just takes the fun out of life, and everything else, just kind of sucks at that point. And I feel that with fitness and nutrition, I think enjoying what you're doing far out trumps whatever plan that you're on. So as long as you're enjoying it, you're going to get more out of enjoying your workout and enjoying what you're eating than forcing yourself into a workout or a plan that you just don't like. Yeah,
and I think that, thinking along the lines of, I know meeting you the 2 times, your philosophy around Pilates and just where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. I might have been like, the skinniest and like looked amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't have a boyfriend. Right. I was unhappy.
Yeah.
You see this facade.
Yeah.
And it's you thinking in your head that like you need to look a certain way to be accepted, know, and now it's just like you just see yourself for who you really are, and like you love it.
Right, exactly. And I think that's where it all starts from is really finding that that appreciation for yourself first, and not trying to get it through a body or through a competition or anything like that. So, and that's huge. And I think a lot of times, as women, we feel like we're going to be happy, we're going to get the relationship, we're going to get the job when we lose weight.
Yeah.
And
it's like, no.
No.
It's gonna happen.
Right. You can have all those things now, and a lot of times I think what happens is our clients get to this point and they realize everything else around them really hasn't changed much,
Right.
and you're still stuck with those same feelings. So a lot of it, which I really appreciate hearing from another fitness professional, is like, you got to really get all your stuff inside in order first before you can really, have long-term changes and stuff. So.
Right. And the irony of the whole thing is, like, I was doing my yoga teacher training at the time when I was starting to compete, and like I was going through and like working out my stuff,
Yeah.
and it's still that's kind of the reason why I think I got out of it.
Right. That helped along the way. So what keeps you motivated now? Like, what do you like? What keeps you motivated to exercise and take care of yourself and just to really become the best version of yourself? Like, what's your drive?
Well, I think that it's something that's within me because of what I've chosen as my profession.
Yeah.
I feel more alive when I strength train, when I practice yoga.
Yeah.
I feel more at peace. I just it's that feeling, and it's me learning more about my body and my body awareness every day so that I can help more people.
Right.
And feeling good throughout your days is my number one thing. I want to appreciate the people around me. I want to be happy, and food and exercise really helps me with that.
Right. It's funny because the other day I posted I asked a question on my Facebook. I said, would you rather look good or feel good? And like unanimously, like everyone was like, feel good, feel good, feel good, feel good. And I think when we break it down, and I do believe that when you look good, you will feel good, but when you also feel good, you look good. So it's kind of like two sides of the same coin.
Exactly, but when you look good from the outside, it doesn't necessarily mean that you feel good.
Exactly. So, and I think that's something that most people just really want to strive for is just feeling good. But one of the struggles that I hear a lot of people who read my blog or follow or are clients, like, how do they find the time? So, do you have any suggestions? And I'm sure you hear it too. People are like, I just don't have time to cook good. I don't just have time to do that. Like, you wake up at 4:45, you train clients, and I know it's part of our profession, but what has worked for you, or what has worked for clients that you've worked with, if people are struggling with fitting exercise and eating well into their schedules?
I mean, I'm kind of an asshole about this sometimes, but like, you're gonna pay for it at some point.
Right.
It's either gonna be you take the time now, or you're gonna be in the hospital with all these medical bills on all this medication.
Right.
Take the time, go to the grocery store, care about yourself, because you have one body, and
Right.
It does feel good to actually feel good.
Right.
I don't think that many people know how good you can feel.
Right, exactly, yeah. And I say the same thing. It's like, you just have to make time for it. There's no other way around it. There's just no other way around it. It's just a matter of making time for yourself. But I think a lot of it stems from is our level of care for ourselves. And if we really cared, and if we really wanted to feel good, then we would do whatever we would.
Exactly, and that's
to get
where
there.
The component that no one really talks about comes in, that I think that you and I really connected about.
Right. Right, is really digging in and finding out, finding that spot inside you to really take care of yourself. So in terms of things for your future, what do you have planned coming up for yourself, for your business or for life or fitness or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I set business goals, but then I'll set personal goals, and I'm gonna go to Costa Rica and see monkeys and
Sweet.
Go surfing and
yeah.
on a yoga retreat, which is something I've always wanted to do.
That's awesome.
Now that I run my own business, I make enough money that I can do what I want to do, and I think that there's a lot of trainers out there that kind of get stuck in the grind of working so many hours and not putting in the time and branching out on their own. Don't be afraid. Do it.
Right.
Especially now, with the way the internet is.
Right.
You run your business pretty much entirely online.
Anywhere, exactly. Yeah. So, I guess since we've been in kind of the fitness industry for quite a while, and I have a lot of friends and people on like Facebook and stuff who ask like, how did you get started? Like, what can I do to make myself a better trainer? Like, if there was something that you could tell like a new trainer getting into the fitness industry who wanted to really better themselves in their profession, like what would you say? Like, what would be one piece of advice that you would give to someone starting off as a trainer?
You gotta put the time in.
Yeah.
To do your floor work and, try to help as many people as you can for free. Train your friends. Like, because you're not going to learn it all at once. Like, you just reading books and watching videos. Right. No, you also have to train yourself, too, Right. Experiment with different things. Right. Read as much as you can and, learn what works and what doesn't,
Right. Absolutely. I agree. Totally. So one more question I guess I'll ask. What would you say to women who are struggling with confidence or body image or feeling negative self-esteem issues? Like, what would you say to women who are struggling with those things?
I guess I would say it's a hard question because I don't think that anyone could really say anything to me that was going to make me feel better. But just being honest, like sharing my story, I think really like put it into perspective for people, Like, what are you doing this for? I really ask, what are you putting yourself through this hard training for? What is your goal? Like, really ask yourself and know what the reason is. Is it just a goal? Then it's not that big of a deal. Like, who are you really? I don't know really.
Yeah. No. I think you made a good point of really asking yourself, why are you doing these things? And if you're struggling with confidence and if you're concerned with, I need to have a better body, I need to look good, like, why do you feel that way? And,
why are you not happy?
Right, exactly. And then, maybe just, like you said, like sharing your story helped, and I think having a place where people can connect and have community.
Yoga studio, I think that's where I love what I'm doing now because I don't know, there's just something about it that just lets people kind of open up.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. That's really cool. So, well, Stacey, thank you for sharing your story. This was awesome, and I look forward to sharing this with. What's that?
You look forward to a workout.
I look forward to a workout. I still need to take one of your classes. I still want to do your kettlebells. So at some point, I'll have to make it over to the South End or South Boston. To do that. So, but thank you for sharing your story and all of your insights and your wisdom. And I look forward to doing more things with you and maybe doing some things in person in Boston, which would be totally cool. And it'll be great. So thanks everyone for watching. This was fun and exciting, and hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. And if you have any questions for Stacey, I'll leave her email down below, and you can check out her site, and I believe it's just staceyschaedler.com.
Yep.
Perfect. Awesome. So thanks again, Stacey, and I'll see you around.
All right. Bye.
All right. You still there? Oh, okay. She logged off.